I'm Lex Runsman from the Linfield English Department, here to welcome you to another in this year's series of readings at the NIC. Stephanie Lenox is the newest member of the Airlie Press family of authors. She edits the online journal Blood Orange Review and teaches at Willamette University. She holds an MFA from the University of Idaho, where she served as the editor of the magazine Fugue. And her work has been recognized with a variety of awards, including grants from the Arizona Commission on the Arts and the Oregon Arts Commission.
So, as Lex said, I'm Stephanie Lenox, and I'll be reading from my book of poems, Congress of Strange People. And I thought I would talk a little bit about the name, where it came from, before I get started with reading. And Congress of Strange People comes from the name for the sideshow for Ringling Brothers Circus, a group of entertainers that included this sword swallowers, illustrated men, bearded ladies, snake charmers, and the like. And they were previously known as Congress of Freaks. And during the course of my research for this book, I became fascinated with the story about how in the early part of the 20th century, the performers in the sideshow essentially rebranded themselves. They resisted and they rejected the word freak and decided, no, call us strange people. And I love the fact that they asserted a new identity, and even embraced a new identity as strange people. And as a poet, I'm really interested in names and what we call things. And at the same time, I'm interested in the strangeness of the everyday and the familiarity of the things that we consider not like us. And then also how we find ourselves in a strange world through other people and through the stories that we tell each other. So that's sort of those are the ideas that I'm exploring in this book, the strangeness of family, the strangeness of others, and the strangeness of our crazy world. So, to explore the strangeness of other people, I very often write in persona. I write in the voices of other people. And many of my characters I found in the Guinness Book of Records. And so I'll start with the first poem that initiated me in this project, which is in the voice of a man named Christopher Wall. And so in the book itself, each poem begins with an epigraph that comes from the Guinness Book and orients you to who's speaking so that you can get a sense of that voice and that character. So I'll start with this poem entitled The Heart That Lies Outside the Body. And it's written in the voice of Christopher Wall, who was born on August 19th, 1975. He is the longest known survivor of the condition known as ectopia cordis. And that's a condition where the heart you're born with your heart outside your chest cavity. And in his situation, there was not enough there for them to even cover it with much. So he's got like a thin flap of skin over his heart. And so if he lifts up his shirt, you can see it beating. And but the mortality rate is high. Most people with this condition don't live more than 48 hours. And so he's surviving, even thriving with this condition. And that was the person that first got me hooked on this strange project of mine. The poem is The Heart That Lies Outside the Body. I know people want to touch it, like I'm some pregnant woman, or one of those cut open cows with a portal in its side. As soon as I could talk, I said, aorta, pulmonary artery, vena cava. These words hold my life in place. I learned how to have fun with it, dress it up like a ventriloquist dummy, throw my voice into the fleshy lump. I memorized the telltale heart and chased my cousins around the yard shouting, it grew quicker and quicker and louder every instant. I've had to explain myself so often, ectopia cordis, ectopia cordis, ectopia cordis, ectopia cordis, that once I totally lost it and hit a man for asking. And, of course, considering my condition, he forgave me. Now, people don't bother to ask, or if they do, I say it feels just fine. In fact, I've lived so long, the doctors say I'll die like everyone else. I have dreams that it fills with air, floats away. I don't know what that means. So for me, that last statement in the poem, I don't know what that means. That was what propelled me into the next poem and the next poem and the next poem for this book, trying to figure out what does this mean. And so I'll read you another poem in the voice of a record holder. This is written in the voice of Dean Sheldon, who is a quite ambitious man. He set 2 records simultaneously. According to the Guinness World Records, Dean Sheldon earned titles in 2000 for holding both the largest scorpion and the most scorpions in his mouth at one time. So you'll notice in that epigraph, I haven't told you how many scorpions he's held in his mouth. So if you listen, you will hear. This one's called No One Gets Hurt. I can't say what I was thinking the first time I unhinged my jaw to see what I'd kept so quietly there. We have an unspoken agreement. Even the largest arachnid curls close to my patient breath. I open my mouth so wide that my fear escapes. Wide enough it becomes a desert, and my teeth so many wind-shaped stones. I can't tell you what it's like to feel those lives shifting inside me. It's not unlike the man who ate steel hotter than the surface of Venus and let it cool in his mouth. To those who say I do it for a name, I say, so? Who isn't prey to that hunger? And to the man who spat a cricket, dead 30 feet, one question. Was it alive when it first went in? The way I hold these creatures' venomous tails, 4 pairs of legs folded lightly as if in prayer, no one gets hurt. Can you say that? What better way to know strength than to hold that carapace of space on the soft bed of the tongue? 20 is not nearly enough to show the dark distances great inside me. Inside my mouth, I can hold anything. And the next one I'll read is one that I struggled with quite a bit. It's about the man who has the most percentage of his body tattooed. And I tried to write this poem from his point of view, and I just couldn't get into his skin. I just couldn't do it. So I had to do the next best thing. I wrote the poem from the point of view of someone who is intimate with this man. And so here's the epigraph. Tom Leopard has approximately 99.9% of his body covered in tattoos, a leopard skin design. Tom now lives as a hermit on the Isle of Skye. So after all that work, he doesn't want anyone to see him. So I'm fascinated by that. So the title of this poem is Making Love to Leopard Man. Though I'm not a needle, let me touch you. Let me look into the pink secret of your ear. Let me part one by one your reclusive, unmarked toes. Trust me, you are not the first man I've known who thought he was an animal, who sharpened his claws without knowing what to do with them. Like continents, your bruised green spots drift apart. Lying beside you, I watch the ink bleed slowly into the tiny channels of skin, edges blurring into your yellow sea. 106 islands I've counted so far. That one looks like a storm cloud. That one at your hip, like the head of a woman. You're not the only one who knows how to make the body an elaborate disguise. How I wish the children who torment you would throw stones at the ugly hut of my life and scatter like birds when I glare at them. I want to bathe my scars in the Isle's dirty river. I want fangs. Let me show you how hermit crabs do it. Tap my borrowed shell until I uncurl like a raw finger, exposing myself to salt. Out there, I could be eaten. I could be carried by the current into the mouth of prey. Hold me closer with your human claws. For now, let's pretend we have nothing to hide. So did you catch that 0.1% of his body not tattooed? It's mentioned in the poem. Yeah. So I think my book has 3 parts, and so I want to transition into read a poem that's sort of a bridge into the poems that are about some other strange people that I just so happen to be related to. And this one's the first poem in my book. It's called Inheritance. Sunday afternoons, grandfather and I studied the Guinness book, dog-earing our favorites. Mike, the headless chicken that lived 18 months before dying in an Arizona hotel room. The man whose arm was severed and reconnected 3 separate times. Lazarus, Jesus, and the lame girl combined. Your grandmother is in there, he nudged me. Keep looking. I scanned the medical marvels, extreme bodies, for the woman he said could balance a piano on the tip of her tongue. I stared at each smudged photo until every woman began to look like family. Same eyes squinting against amazing burden. Other times, we huddled over the family tree, its names branching out on butcher paper, me captivated by the word genealogy, as if it contained the power to grant my 3 greatest wishes, while he plotted everything, traced us back to Singawa, chief of a tribe of pranksters. He pinched my skin until the blood rose. See, you are red. Then he showed me how to cup my hand over my mouth to make a war cry. Once before leaving, he said he had a present for me and dropped something weightless, invisible in my hand. The world's smallest guitar, he explained. Like the one we read about, size of a human blood cell, completely functional. Now play me a song. My pulse picked up as I tried to think of what I could do. Leaning over with the tip of his fingernail, he strummed once the center of my palm, told me to press my ear against it. Thank you.